How you doing, guys? Dr. Nathan Thompson here with Exemplify Health Center, a Wellness Way affiliate. Happy Wednesday. Now it is the afternoon. Officially, well, I'm not even halfway done with the week yet. But today I want to talk to you about anemia. Really common thing, particularly among women. I'm going to tell you why it's more common with women by far than it is with men. But I'm going to show you a different perspective when it comes to anemia and how we look at it differently. All right. So, hey, if you're jumping on right now, make sure that you say hello. And also let me know what your favorite thing about Wednesday is. And don't say because it's hump day. All right. I know all of you are probably already going to say that. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to jump on and share this right now with a couple of other groups right now. So go ahead and wait and say hello if you can. And I'm going to talk about anemia in just a second. All right. All right, cool. So anemia. Let's talk about anemia a little bit, all right? So I want you to think of anemia because a lot of times there's been a lot of women who have said, oh, I've been anemic or I've been anemic in the past. And I'm going to show you why women tend to be more anemic, but some of the symptoms that you can be experiencing when you are anemic. So here's the thing. Basically, anemia is this. I just want you to think of anemia in very simple perspective, all right? So there's a lot of different types of anemia. There's a lot of different causes of anemia. But basically, anemia is this. Anemia is when you are starving your tissues of oxygen. And the reason why is because your red blood cells or some of your basically, you can't get enough oxygen to your tissues. So you may not have enough red blood cells, you may not have enough hemoglobin, you may not have enough iron. It can be an issue with B12, things like that. So a lot of different reasons why, but basically the whole gist of anemia is those red blood cells can't carry enough oxygen to your tissues. So I want you to think about, if you do not have enough oxygen to your tissues, some of the symptoms that you could actually have. Okay, so just think about it. Anytime you starve tissues of oxygen, whether it be in the muscles, whether it be in the digestive system, whether it be to the brain, think about just some of the symptoms that you could actually have. So, Amber, how you doing? Thanks for watching. Dawn, how are you? Thanks for jumping on. So, anemia symptoms. I want you to think about this. If you're not getting enough oxygen to your muscles, one of the symptoms is you could have cramping. So think about all of the women especially who suffer with things like cramping in the legs. They have restless leg syndrome, things like that. So you can start to have cramping. And usually one of the go-tos that we automatically assume is that it's some kind of magnesium deficiency or potassium deficiency. But I want you to think of this too, is that there's another mineral that you have to be able to eat and absorb, and it's actually iron. And I'm going to also show you why you may not be absorbing iron the way that you're supposed to. So think of cramping, all right? Second one, having low energy and having fatigue. This is a no-brainer. And listen, the reason why is because the brain also needs oxygen. So if you are chronically starving your brain of oxygen, you're going to be tired. You're going to feel fatigued all the time. Heck, you may even have headaches. If you don't have enough oxygen going to the brain, you're going to have headaches as well. How about the third thing? You have a difficulty catching your breath whenever you have any kind of physical exertion. So you may go up a flight of stairs and you feel like, gosh, I can't even catch my breath anymore. That could be because of anemia. Now, a lot of times we'll see this because I own a gym as well, and we'll see this with athletes, meaning they do okay in like the first 1 or 2 minutes of a workout, and then you see their bodies absolutely tank and collapse after 1 or 2 minutes. And the reason why is because anytime you're doing like high intensity exercise and things like that, the first minute you don't rely on any oxygen or any oxygen carrying capacity, okay? Because mostly you're just doing sugar, also like glycogen metabolism. So that's a telltale sign if your workouts really just tail off once you get into the third minute and the fourth minute and you have a really hard time catching the breath, that could be because of anemia. How about this one? In fact, we actually just saw a new patient today, and I wanted her to check her iron levels because she has had terrible issues for the last 10 years with constipation. So I want you to think about this. is that low iron or being anemic can cause constipation. So one of the reasons why is because the body is always going to want to try to absorb as much of the minerals as possible. And if you are not absorbing things very well, the bowels are going to want to slow down to try to catch as much mineral absorption as possible. So constipation is another common symptom when it comes to being anemic. Here's the other thing too, this is what no one really looks at, is you may be hypothyroid if you're anemic. And one of the reasons why is because you actually need iron to convert your T4, which the thyroid makes, to its active form, also known as T3, which then can even slow down your energy, slow down your metabolism, and things like that. So those are some of the most common symptoms actually of anemia. So just think about it. You don't have a lack of oxygen going to tissues. You are getting very, very, very sick. So let's talk about why people can become anemic. So many times when we test thyroid, in fact, when we test thyroid, we always are checking actually a lab that's called ferritin. Ferritin is actually your iron storage capacity. What that means is that you are very low in ferritin. It means that you have burned through your iron and have depleted your iron stores, and you are very, 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 very iron depleted. In fact, you will not see ferritin start to drop unless you have been iron depleted for probably about 3 or 4 months, which is why we check ferritin, which is basically, you can call it stored iron. We see that a lot more with women. So why do women experience more anemia than men? And here is the number one reason why. Women, you do something, or supposed to, every 28 days that's very different than men. You have a menstrual cycle. So just think of this. Every single time that you have a menstrual cycle, you are shedding your endometrial tissue, which is also going to have blood with it. So every 28 days, you are losing blood, which is why you're going to have a higher need for iron and all of the constituents in order to make red blood cells that actually carry the oxygen to the tissues. So menstrual cycle is one of the big things. The other reason why you can become iron deficient is if you are having any kind of intestinal bleeding. So we've had I remember a couple of weeks ago, a man that came in was anemic, and the reason why he was anemic was because he had lower intestinal bleeding. And chronic lower intestinal bleeding will actually, can also make you become anemic as well. So this can actually be in the upper GI or in the lower GI. It just depends on, where it's at. Both of them are going to cause blood loss, but typically if it's in the upper GI, you're going to notice that your stool is going to be darker. And if it's in the lower GI, you're going to notice that it's going to be a little bit more red. So that can be another reason, is having some kind of intestinal bleed. An ulcer, for example. So a stomach ulcer can be a definite reason why. Another reason why is that you have a duodenal ulcer, just the part that extends past the stomach. So intestinal bleeding. How about a big, big, big reason why for a lot of people? And this is taking proton pump inhibitors. And people are like, what on earth is that? Well, a proton pump inhibitor is basically an antacid, okay? So it's taken Prilosec, it's taken some over-the-counter medication for having reflux. So as soon as you start taking what's known as a proton pump inhibitor, you are going to decrease the acidity of the stomach, which then is going to inhibit the absorption of iron, as well as all of your other minerals as well. So this is why you can become anemic by chronically taking a proton pump inhibitor. So you got to get to the reason why you are having reflux. And one of the solutions to actually helping with anemia is actually properly acidifying the digestive system, making sure that you are in fact producing enough stomach acid to be able to absorb those minerals. How about another one? Guys, you're not getting enough red meat. So red meat is going to be the highest in like hemoglobin, for example. And basically, hemoglobin is the molecule that that has iron in it that's needed in order for the red blood cells to transport oxygen. So eating red meat is really important. And in fact, you should be eating red meats that are going to be the highest in hemoglobin content. And the type of meat that is always going to be the highest is actually beef liver. So think about that. This is why I consume liver. Now, full disclosure, I cannot fathom actually eating liver. I'm going to have to get through that. So I take a desiccated liver because that is going to give my body the constituents for my red blood cells to be able to transport oxygen to my tissues. So it's going to be high in hemoglobin. It's going to be high in iron. It's going to be high in those things in order to give my body what it needs to help with oxygen transport. Okay. Now think of this. So women typically are going to have problems with anemia. Oh, and here's the last one that I forgot too. You can also be anemic if you over-exercise. And this is true with a lot of young girls who are grinding it out, who are exercising all the time, who are doing high impact type exercises. Because guys, every time you're doing high impact, running, jumping, gymnastics, and things like that, anytime you have a trauma to the foot can cause micro bleeding in the bones of the foot that can make you actually lose blood. It's called foot strike anemia. It's actually a really real thing. So sometimes you can become anemic with chronic overexercise. Now it can be one, it can be two, it can be a bunch of those different reasons why. Sometimes maybe it's all of them, but anemia is a very serious thing and you need to know what to do in order to start turning that around. Now, someone had asked me, hey, why is it more prevalent with women than men? And we talked about, just the menstrual cycle. But men typically aren't going to be as anemic as often. In fact, men will actually have too much iron storage. And that's a whole nother different ballgame that you have to consider. Because many times we see, men will have way too much iron storage. And a lot of that has to do with some liver issues, particularly non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is actually due to the overconsumption of fructose. So all of those different things can lead to anemia. So there's a lot of different reasons why you can have anemia. So you may not be getting enough iron. So it's not just sometimes just as easy as just trying to increase your iron. But you also want to make sure that you're getting the molecules that carry the actual iron, like hemoglobin. Also, getting enough B12, vitamin B12 too. It's going to be another form of anemia. So stress can deplete B12, big time. Being stressed out too will decrease the absorption, the acidity of the stomach, which will decrease absorption of some of these minerals. So that's why, one of the long-term type strategies can be consuming like a desiccated liver or eating more liver, making sure that you're taking, vitamin B12, as well. And also, another good thing can actually be chlorophyll. So taking chlorophyll, because it's very similar to the hemoglobin, except the only difference is chlorophyll doesn't have iron in it, but chlorophyll actually has magnesium in it. So now you have what carries the iron, the hemoglobin or the chlorophyll, and then you'll have to take iron to go along with it. But guys, the easiest way is just making sure that you're taking some high doses of liver, especially. So that's how you stop starving your body of oxygen. So hey guys, thanks for joining me, and make sure that you share this. Huge. We appreciate when people share, especially regarding to anemia, because you have no idea how many people, and how many women especially, are anemic. They're suffering. They don't know where to turn. So hopefully this will give them some direction. So make sure you like this. Make sure that you share this. And if you're watching on replay, go ahead and type in replay and let us know if you have been anemic and what you are doing in order to correct that problem. So guys, thank you again for joining me. Happy Wednesday. We will talk to you soon.